This is a Raspberry Pi. No, wait, wrong thing. This is the Raspberry Pi 4, which is a credit card sized computer for $35. By plugging in a keyboard, mouse, and monitor, the Raspberry Pi 4 becomes a functional desktop computer. However, it's a little different from your Windows or Mac computer. The Raspberry Pi 4 runs its own version of Linux called Raspberry Pi OS. Don't worry though, the OS is user-friendly and has familiar apps like Chrome for web browsing and Visual Studio Code for programming. The Raspberry Pi 4 is not only a cheap desktop alternative, it's also the perfect tool for DIY projects. Raspberry Pis have been used for custom time-lapse cameras, weather stations, and even retro game emulators. If you're interested at all in the Raspberry Pi's capabilities, this video will highlight the physical features of the Pi 4 as well as its use in DIY projects. On the device itself, the Raspberry Pi 4 has multiple familiar ports you would see on many other computers. There is a micro SD slot for storage, 4 USB ports, with 2 being USB 3.0, 2 micro HDMI ports that support 4K resolutions, an Ethernet jack, a 3.5mm audio jack, and a USB-C port for power. However, the bread and butter of the Raspberry Pi are the array of 40 pins on top called the General Purpose Input-Output pins, or GPIO for short. These pins allow you to connect your Pi to sensors and other electronic components and interface with them using code. The GPIO pins are the reason why Raspberry Pi devices are so popular within the DIY community. Projects range from a retro arcade cabinet to a full-fledged smart mirror. Making your own project is limited only to your creativity and programming skills. If you don't know how to code, many Raspberry Pi projects have detailed instruction sets to follow online. Use websites like YouTube or Instructables for ideas and detailed instructions on how to follow projects step by step. The Raspberry Pi 4 is a capable little computer for only $35. Whether you want to use it for basic web browsing like a desktop, an educational learning tool for your child, or a home brewery controller, the Raspberry Pi 4 is the most versatile small computer on the market.